So this is why we do this project. If we could go to, okay. So those are the, I'm sorry, I'm looking for the slides. So those are the disasters that commonly occurs in Iowa that we have been focusing on in our project up until last year. And of course, everything has changed now. So if you could go to the next slide, Lena. Thank you. So we, of course, have to deal with COVID-19. So this is a picture of the flyers that we developed in trying to inform all the adults and their families about how to stay healthy during the COVID-19 pandemic. We can make this available if you haven't seen this one. And if you go to the next slide. We also recently were affected by the Rachel storm, and I know that a lot of you are still trying to recover from this aftermath. And I hope you're getting all the support you need. And if not, I know a lot of people on this call can give you information and access to services that that would help you recover from this disaster. We go to the next slide. Thank you. And so, we just experienced two major disasters in Iowa. So it's not surprising to see that 80% of US population actually live in counties that have been affected by disasters. But when we look at the national survey data, we know that older adults take fewer preparedness steps than the younger adults. We also know from the national survey that people who were interviewed, older adults, only 25% or fewer people said that they actually have any kind of plan when disaster or emergency situations happen. So, and those are the reasons that people listed, why they were not prepared. So of course the preparedness step can be expensive because if you have to put your emergency supply kits together, it could be expensive. You have to go out and shop for some of those things. The information, there's a lot of information, as you can see on this slide. FEMA provides a lot of information. Red Cross, Department of Human Health and Services provide information for older adults on how to become prepared, but those steps are often very complicated. It's not easy to know what exactly you need to do. Also, a lot of people have functional and physical limitations. That's going to make it harder for people to become prepared. You might need support going to the store. You might need support stocking up gallons of water in your apartment if you're not able to lift those gallons, and so on. And overall general lack of support. When we talk to a lot of older adults about preparedness in this county, Johnson and Lee County, we've been doing this project for a while. A lot of people say that I just need help. I just need step-by-step guidance on how to become prepared. So general lack of support is a major thing for us, and not just older adults, I think for all of us to become prepared. Those are the barriers. And so because of this reason, we've been developing disaster preparedness tool for many years. So what we did in this project was that we took a disaster preparedness program called PrepKids that was originally developed for families that has children with developmental disabilities. It was a wonderful program. It gave step-by-step guidance that people exactly told us what they needed, but it was for children. So what we did was we did a comprehensive review of all the publications from government nonprofit agencies like FEMA, CDC, Administration on Aging, and also nonprofit organizations like Red Cross and Heart Foundation. We extracted all the information that was important for older adults and their families, put them into this toolkit, and created the first version of PrepWise. Then we shared these contents with the service providers. We went and talked to staff members from area agencies and aging, the Meals on Wheels drivers, anybody who worked with older adults. We presented this content and we got feedback and then revised and created the next version. Then we took that revised version and presented to older adults in Lena and Johnson County. We found anybody who wanted to review for us and provide feedback. These were amazing feedback that we got, and now we have the final version of the PrepWise that we use to pilot test. And you can just kind of forward through. Yeah, I created too many animations in here, so thank you for doing that. And that with that program, we were able to pilot test. We had a program to pilot test. So if we could move forward. And those are some of the people who served on our advisory board. All of those individuals provided great feedback and input as we moved through developing the program. And I know many of you know those individuals as well. So this program actually was developed based on the needs and information provided by people in this community in Linn County and Johnson County. So, next slide. So you can just forward through this slide. So I'm just going to talk about this picture. So this is how we pilot tested the program. This picture is from Iowa City Senior Center, but we went to many different places. We did church groups. We did presentation. Jane Gay, who is presenting there, is a retired nurse who did the program for us. And basically, she did an hour presentation, walking people step by step through the modules. And people, you can't really see those people sitting, looking at her, but everybody had their workbook in their hands. As Jen went through the modules, people were writing down on their workbook, filling out their tables, so that at the end of the program, everybody walked out with their own emergency management plan, their plan. And those are quick results that we were able to publish. We were able to show that people, preparedness behavior increased. So some people went out and got extra batteries, or they put their supply kits together so that if something happens, they could just grab and go and evacuate. We also emphasize in our program how important it is to have an emergency support network members and know what each person is going to do for you. You know, who's going to help with transportation, who's going to help with sheltering and all those things. So after the program, we could see that on average, everybody who participated added 3 additional support persons for the emergency situations, and they had actually gone to talk to those people about their plans. So they were communicating that this is my plan. If something like this happens, I'm going to come to you for this. And I want you to say that it's okay or not. So they had this conversation to make sure that they had the emergency support network and people were aware of their plans. So next. Yeah. And based on the feedback we received from people who went through the programs and also people who reviewed our programs, the staff members from agencies, everybody wanted online program. So we spent a year, almost a year, developing this online program. And now we have an online tool program called Disaster Prepwise that we were able to pilot test during the past year. So I'm going to turn this over to Lena now so that she can talk about actual contents of this Prepwise tool. And I think that's more important and interesting information to start with. So, Lena?
Okay. So this is the online tool that Dr. Ashida was just talking about. These are just screenshots of what it looks like right now. It's currently hosted on what's called University of Iowa Canvas. So it's not available to everyone right now. It was just pilot tested. So I'm gonna give you some tips from the online tool. I just also wanted to show you what it looks like. What it does is it walks participants through the 5 steps of disaster preparedness. And then it has an introduction section at the beginning, along with special considerations for people who are caring for someone with Alzheimer's or dementia, special considerations for people traveling, for people who are caring for pets. And then, like I said, there's an additional resources page where you can learn about how to prepare for certain types of disasters. So it's got a list of different types of disasters and you can go through them. Each step includes an introductory video. There's text about the step and why the step's important. There are printable documents, forms you can fill out to generate yourself a report. So this is our online tool that we tested. So it's really important for every household to complete an assessment. It's especially important for people who have unique healthcare needs or who are caring for someone with unique healthcare needs to complete an assessment. Assessing means kind of just thinking about these 3 things, or it could mean just thinking about these 3 things. So assess how you would be alerted or warned about a disaster, how you would evacuate your home if that were necessary during a disaster, and how and where you would shelter during a disaster or after a disaster. That will help you develop your plan for meeting your basic needs and functional needs during an emergency. So in the alert and warning section, you'll want to think about how you would be alerted or warned of a disaster. So can you hear the storm sirens from your home? If not, you might need to get a radio or something that'll help you know whether or not there's a storm or what's going on. If you or a loved one cannot hear the fire alarm in your home, there are things you can install like flashing lights in your hallway. I think there's a type of pillow that will vibrate if you need to evacuate your home. So thinking about some of those other assistive devices. It's important that your smoke detector batteries are always working. So one tip that we give in the program is to use daylight saving time, which I think is coming up in the next couple of months. Just use daylight saving time to remember to change your batteries or check your batteries. So whenever you change your clocks back or forward, you just go and also check your batteries. Additionally, you'll want to consider how you would evacuate from your home. Will your loved one need assistance leaving the home? And if you're not able to help that person evacuate for some reason, is there somebody else who you can count on to help you do so? You'll want to establish a meeting place for everybody in your home to go and meet. So it's possible that like during the duration, for example, a lot of us didn't have cell phone service. So if you were out grocery shopping when something happened and you were separated, you'll need to know where to meet. So make sure to establish a meeting place for everyone and make sure that everyone knows that meeting place. You may need to establish more than one meeting place. I know when I've done this intervention with some people, they've thought about, well, we could go to the gas station, but what if all the trees fall down? And when we can't get to the gas station. So you might want to think about a couple different places, but make sure to kind of know which ones you'll try first, second, and third. You'll also want to consider where you will shelter if you need to evacuate your home. So you might want to think about one person in town, one person outside of town, but maybe somewhat close by, and then one person out of state. So depending on the scale of disaster, you'll have a place to stay at all those different levels. Make sure that these people know that you intend to shelter with them. I know in a lot of cases, they're probably children, close friends, siblings, but it is really important just so that they know and they can plan ahead too, in case they're planning on also sheltering someone else or, if anything comes up. So it's really important that you actually ask them annually whether or not you can shelter with them. One suggestion that we make is maybe when they call you on your birthday, just really quick, you could say something like, oh, hey, would it still be okay during a disaster if we were to shelter with you? You'll also want to have a conversation with them about, if you're caring for someone, maybe about some of those special considerations to make for that person. So just making sure to update them on things that might be needed if that's appropriate or necessary.
I just wanted to jump in. We talked about also a lot about if you or your loved one needs special accommodations. So if someone is in wheelchair, and if you need to find a shelter, you might want to talk to other friends who might also be using wheelchairs so that their house might be accessible and so on. So those are the things that you can kind of think about in terms of, if we're going to stay with someone for an extended period of time, what kind of needs need to be met. Yeah.
So another thing that you're going to want to do after doing an assessment is develop and really plan out your personal emergency network. So your personal emergency network would include at least 3 people who could assist you before, during, and after a disaster. So these people can help you care for your loved one, maintain your independence, shelter you during your disaster. Your home or community-based services might not be able to provide those services during a disaster. So you'll want to make sure that you can be prepared to be without those services for at least 3 days. So when you're thinking about these people, you're thinking about who could help me for at least 3 days survive without my community services. For some people, there might be people who you're caring for with dementia or with autism. They might struggle with being inside of in a shelter. So you might want to be thinking about, so that's another reason why it's important to think about people you can stay with or people who can help you, just because there are people with certain reasons why it might be more stressful for them to be in a shelter. So one thing, so how you could do this would be that you could take out a piece of paper and you could just write in names, contact information of 3 people who can help you. And then you would want to think about what sorts of different things they can help you with. I've listed here on this slide some things that people would help you with. So you want to think about someone who could help you with preparation. So who could help you, with planning before an emergency. If there's going to be a storm, is there somebody who can help you get all the windows closed? Is there somebody who can help you, bring anything, lawn furniture, anything inside? Evacuation. So if there's somebody very close by who could help with evacuation during a fire, is there somebody who could help with evacuation if there were a wide scale evacuation? So maybe if there's somebody with a large van or somebody with, a wheelchair accessible car, things like that, that would help you with evacuation. You'll want to think about people who can provide shelter. So like Dr. Ashida said, if you're going to be caring for someone with a wheelchair, you might want to think about somebody who can provide care who also is in a wheelchair or has a wheelchair friendly home. You'll want to think about somebody who can help with care. So if you're doing any like wound dressing or administering medications, you'll want to think about someone who's maybe willing and able to help with those tasks. And then you'll want to think about someone who can help you with transportation. So somebody who can transport you to the shelter, run errands, to your home. So again, this can just be 3 people that you can pick, and you can kind of assign different tasks to these different people. You'll want to think about maybe who would be the first person you would call on your list for these different tasks, and then who would be the second and who would be the third. So you can kind of have a backup. It's important to have a backup just in case your first person can't do it. I have a form that you can use to actually fill this out and write this out and have the whole thing together, and then you can assign someone tasks in those forms. If you're interested in that form, you're welcome to send me an email. I can either share it with you directly, or I could send it to Karen if that's easier. So during an emergency, it's also important that you would be separated from family members, that you would lose important medical equipment or devices, that you would maybe lose documents or papers. So it's really important to put together all of that information, make copies of it if possible, and have it all together. So you'll want emergency contacts, any medical needs, and different documents that you might need, if you have any certificates or if you have any licenses or things that you might need as well. You'll want to make a copy of those and have them all together. We suggest that you put it in your emergency kit or your take and go bag, actually, which we'll talk about in a couple steps. There's also a communication board that we have that you can print off and put in there. So if you need emergency, if you or someone you're with is not able to communicate, we have a printable emergency board you can also add in with these documents. And it's also important to put some cash together. I know Dr. Ashida was talking about how after the derecho, she had to go and pay for some things with cash because some of the stores she went to actually weren't taking credit cards. So important when you're compiling all this information that you're also, you could slip some cash into that packet as well. So you'll want to store those important documents in a location in your house that's easy and quick to get to during an emergency situation. You could store it at least one other place in town, such as your car, your purse, or your wallet. And then one out of town location. So you could either leave it with a very trusted family or friend, or you could put it on the internet. You could, store it in an email. You could store it, if you have like some online storage space, you could store it in there. You could put it on a USB as well. You don't have to have the paper copy, but it is important to have an extra copy of your document. Another thing you'll want to do is make sure that you have enough medications or extra medical supplies to maintain your usual healthcare needs during a disaster. So again, your regular services might not be available. You might need extra medications or supplies when you're sheltering at home. You can ask if your insurance plan allows for an extended day supply of medication. Some will do like a 60 to 90 day supply of medication extra. It's possible that with some insurance restrictions, you're not able to do that. And if you're not able to do that, I've listed some questions that you can go ahead and discuss with your doctor. So if you're not able to have an extra supply for 60 to 90 days, you could talk to your doctor or pharmacist about what you should do if you can't get treatment, what you should do if you think you're running out of medical supplies, whether or not it's okay to stop or reduce treatments, and what would be the safest way to stop or reduce treatments, and whether or not there are any diet or activity changes you could make if your medication does run out. There might not be a perfect answer to all of these questions from your doctor, but it's really good to start having that conversation and just get an idea of what kinds of things you can do to best take care of yourself and the person you're caring for if during an emergency you were to run out of medications and supplies. If you're not able to keep your extended day supply of medications, you also might want to leave a note on your emergency supply kit just to remind you to grab the medication. So if you had to evacuate, you would want, to have your take and go bag that you can take and you can leave, but you'll want to grab a few extra things. So leave yourself a note or something on the top of the bag so that you remember what to grab. I know for me, it would be really challenging to just remember all of these things off the top of my head. I would need a note for sure. So depending on the type of emergency, you might either need to shelter in your home or evacuate to a safer location. So your emergency supply kit will have two parts, and that'll make sure that you can either be at home or you can be on the go. You'll want to make plans to have supplies to take care of yourself for at least 3 days in your home. You may not have electricity, gas, or water. So part of your home might be destroyed. I know with the recent derecho, a lot of us might have experienced going a week or longer without power. So we might be kind of used to this or have experienced this recently. What you'll want is a kit that you could keep in your basement or wherever you plan to shelter that you can use to shelter in your home. You would want food and water. So for example, water, you'll want at least 3 gallons per person. You'll want cleaning supplies like hand sanitizer, bleach. We have a PDF file of a document that teaches you how to purify water with bleach so that you can make drinking water out of water that you get using bleach. You'll want general supplies like a first aid kit or a blanket. You'll want to choose some foods that your family will eat, taking into account if you have any special dietary restrictions or food allergies. A lot of times like canned food with those like pop tops work really well. If you don't have canned food that has the pop tops, you'll just want to make sure that you put a can opener inside of that supply kit. You'll want to mark any food that you put in there with dates and make sure to replace them if necessary. I would try for, canned items or things that'll stay good for quite a while. If possible, you'll also want to include a toolkit. So a hammer, pliers, some sort of cutting tool like a knife or something, super glue, duct tape. Those are all really important things that you might need. Some people who shelter in their basements might need to put together a toileting kit. Not everyone would need a toileting kit, depending on what your basement or your space where you would shelter looks like. If you do need to do so, you'd want to have like a bucket or a container with a lid, some plastic bags, garbage bags, and toilet paper. If you'd like more information on putting together a toilet kit, you can also contact me or I can send instructions to Karen. For the take and go kit, you'll probably want to take some of the items that are in this emergency supply kit with you, but you would want to have a some sort of kit that at least starts you or has a few things packed. That would include some general supplies, again, like blankets, for first aid kit. You also might want some extra clothing, so you could pack like long sleeve clothing and long pants clothing, and then you could have a pair of scissors with you, so if you needed to cut that clothing, you could create t-shirt or shorts. But it's always better to have that long sleeve, long pants clothing to start with. You can always make it smaller or less warm. You'll want to have personal care items. So sometimes when you go to like a hotel or something, you could take one of those little shampoos or those little soaps. I think those are allowed. I think they're allowed to take those. And then if not, I think it's also for sale. You can buy those at the store. And then you'll want to think about some comfort items to pack. So if you're going to leave your home with somebody you're caring for, there might be a favorite item that they have. If it's a picture, if it's you know, a toy or something that they like to hold, just making sure to have that either packed or make sure that you have that on your list of things to put in the take and go bag if you need to evacuate your home quickly.
I just wanted to add, Lena, that we have different checklists, so complete list of the items that you can consider putting in your kit. And what we highlight is that not all of them have to be purchased. So it seems like it can be an expensive thing, but you know, you might look at this list and say, oh, I got those somewhere in the house. It might be just a matter of putting all those into one place together to make a kit. So that's something we try to highlight in our program.
Absolutely. So make sure that you put all of those items together before you select a container. One thing that I think a lot of people do is they get their container because that's pretty, you know, it's kind of exciting. Here's my kit, and then they start filling it up and they realize, oh, my things don't fit in here. Or I could have gotten a smaller container. And like Dr. Ashida said, you might already have a lot of those items around your house. So think about what you already have versus what you need to buy before you go to the store. This next slide is the emergency supply kit checklist. So again, I have PDF files of this checklist, and you can just go through and you can check off what things you already have, what things you need to buy, and then what things you've already set aside for your emergency supply kit. So in the special consideration module, we've also got some information about people who are caring for someone with Alzheimer's or related dementia. Here are just some tips that I listed out for you if you are taking care of someone with Alzheimer's or related dementia. You'll want to put family contact information on a labeled card or a flash drive and place that in the wallet of the person. If your loved one attends an adult daycare or lives in a senior residential facility, you want to make sure that you're aware of the evacuation protocol. I put evaluation protocol on my slide. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that earlier. You'll also want to register. You could register the person with dementia at the Alzheimer's Association Safe Return Program. I can send that resource again to Karen if that's something that you would like. If you're evacuating someone with dementia, you'll just want to you'll want to stay calm, think about strategies that have been successful in the past. Maybe if you're motivating that person with a favorite item or food. And then if appropriate, you could share the person's diagnosis with others who are around, like if you're at a shelter or something, so that they can assist. Again, you'll want to think about what's most appropriate for that person. And then responding to agitation and anxiety, just think about and be aware of cues that may indicate anxiety. If that person is pacing, if that person is fidgeting, you might want to move to a quieter place to limit stimulation, or use earplugs to reduce noise. Again, that's a little bit more like if you're in a shelter or something. You could, if you're in a shelter, also create a calming isolation area for that person. You could use plastic sheeting, which you would want to pack in your take and go bag, or you could just use garbage bags and duct tape and create a space for that person so that they have a little bit more of their own space and it's maybe a little bit darker and quieter. Here's another list that we have in the online tool. It's the special personal considerations checklist. So along with general supplies like medication or emotional or cognitive supports, it also has assistive technology that you might want to think about. So again, back to the general supplies, you might want to think about tape and black garbage bags to create a calming isolation area, activities for distraction, such as games or cards, puzzles, books, comfort items, photographs. And then you'll also want to think about if there's any assistive technology that that person might need. So if that person needs their eating aids, dressing aids, if they need, like I was talking about, that communication board we have, if they need a communication board of some sort or a whiteboard with a marker, if that person needs glasses, if you have extra glasses, you might want to pack them in the kit. And then thinking about mobility, if that person needs cane, crutches, if they have a wheelchair, you'll want to practice advocating for those assistive technology things. So, for example, if somebody's coming and helping you evacuate, you'll want to be prepared to say, this person needs their walker, and if we don't have the walker, then one of us is going to have to hold her hand the entire time. So just make sure that you can advocate for the different types of technology and things that you need. Practicing doing that beforehand doesn't take long, but could really help that person be more independent during a disaster. Finally, we also have some additional resources at the end of our modules. These are the different types of disasters that we've thought about that one might experience. So a lot of them that I've covered in the past are fires, extreme cold, tornadoes, extreme heat. I had never covered the pandemic or the hurricanes stuff until quite recently when I've been thinking about those things. But all of that is in there. And basically what you can get out of these pages are you at risk? How will you be alerted? How to prevent damage? What to do during that type of disaster, and what to do after. If you're interested in any of these pages, again, I'm happy to share or send any of those pages to someone. Additionally, some things you can do to protect the person you're caring for is you can sign them up for the Linn County Special Needs Registry. So that would just be at the Linn County Emergency Management website. And you can just sign up that person with their name, their address, their phone number. And it's just a way that they can kind of keep track of people who have special needs as they're helping evacuate or clean up after an emergency. And I think during an emergency also, is that correct?
Right. We've had some participants tell us actually that they've signed up for it, and when there was a tornado warning, then they actually got a phone call from a live person, and they were very impressed about that. So that was Johnson County. Do you also have
Yeah,
information on Johnson County?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I have
So
this
yes, during and after the emergency.
Yeah. So this is the other one that if you're from Johnson County, you can also sign up for this alert system. And it it'll just if you have somebody with a disability, you can sign up for this program, and they'll be able to track and check in on people. So those are some other programs you might want to take a look at: the Lynn County Special Needs Registry and the Johnson County Public Notification System. We just also want to acknowledge the Research Retirement Foundation, the University of Iowa Injury Prevention Research Center, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, and the University of Iowa Institute for Public Health Research and Policy, which is funded by the CDC. Our research team is listed here. Dr. Ashida's name is not on there, but she's our lead on the research team. And then here are some other resources. I'm sorry you can't click on them from where you are, but again, I can share these slides. I think we can share these slides. And here's the disaster.
That's a research team. Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to say or wrap up, Dr. Ashida?
No, I think that's all for us. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah. And I'll pass it back over to Jeff.
Well, I just want to say thank you very much to both of you. And I think, Lena, if you would like to go ahead and email me the forms, the PDFs, and what we're going to do is we'll put that on the Heritage Area Agency website, be tagged with this web. So this will be saved. The recording will be saved so we can share it with that. And then we'll also have it if people want to call Heritage, we can send those in that these forms PDFs out to them at that time. So if you would just forward that information to me, that would be great. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jeff, and he's going to talk about navigating services, basically where it started. So Jeff, it's your turn.
All right. Well, thank you. And Lena, just real quickly, if it's illegal to steal the shampoos, little bottles, then I'm in trouble. The police might be coming after me anytime here. I'm Jeff Kellbach. I'm an aging specialist with Johnson County Social Services. I'm housed in the Health and Human Services building down in Iowa City, 855 South Dubuque Street. I have actually, and everybody at the county has a brand new email address, and we have a brand new website address as of today, just to add to the confusion of 2020. So if you need to reach me, there is my email address. There is the new county website address as well. So who do you contact? I mean, that's what we're really talking about here. When you have a question or just trying to figure out where to start and looking for services for an older adult, whether that's yourself, whether you're a caregiver for somebody, you can certainly reach out to United Way 211. I think they provide some really great information, and not just for older adults. They cover all service options. Heritage Area Agency on Aging, which Harrison presented on during our first webinar, so I won't touch too much on Heritage, but I'll talk a little bit about that here later on in the presentation, and later on isn't that far away. And Johnson County Aging Specialist, that's me, or we have a navigator in our social services department who works with a wider age range and also helps back me up. So the role of the aging specialist in Johnson County, really to assist individuals. So, you know, I get a lot of calls for really just a variety of issues. People trying to find affordable housing options, whether that's an apartment complex, maybe that's looking at facilities, whether it's assisted living, nursing facility, how to pay for those services, looking at options for keeping their loved one at home, adult day, in-home care options, and that can be non-medical or nursing or medical services in the home. People contacting about food meal options, what's available to help make sure that, you know, the older adult's getting proper nutrition. Maybe they're not able to prepare all their meals, need some assistance with that. And those are some services that can be brought in through in-home cares as well. I mean, I think in-home care is just one of those really versatile options for people that are in their homes. They can do just a wide variety of things, from taking people to appointments, helping out with all sorts of different care needs, showering, bathing, preparing meals, helping out with medications. And then financial assistance programs as well. A lot of individuals, you know, are struggling financially, particularly this year. Everybody is, I think everybody's struggling a little bit in 2020 in some way. So things I can do is obviously providing them with what options may exist for them. But aside from that, it's really trying to make sure that it's not just an information or referral. It's more than that, really just trying to make sure they get connected to the services. So with follow-up, assisting them with paperwork. So do we need to apply for Medicaid? And, you know, applying for Medicaid in and of itself is a complicated thing because it's confusing. There's a lot of different programs through Medicaid. There's a lot of waiver programs, such as the elderly waiver for individuals over the age of 65, but there's also some Medicare savings programs, which would help individuals that qualify pay for their Medicare premiums. There's a lot to know. Let's just say that. They can apply for paratransit. That would be the SEATS program in Johnson County. Up in Lynn County, obviously there's lifts. Applying for LIHEAP, which is a heating energy assistance program. And even right now, derecho assistance, I know there's a couple of different applications out there to help individuals out, and that's going to vary. What's available, for instance, in Lynn County and some of those surrounding counties is going to be a little bit additional with the FEMA assistance. Here in Johnson County, the FEMA assistance is not available, but there are a couple of potential programs that individuals may qualify for, and that's the type of thing that I would help them out figuring out with. I also am the staff liaison for Johnson County Livable Community. This website contains information on, there's the website link, so that's helpful. I did some animation too. I like to play a little bit, Dr. Ashida. Upcoming events, so events like this, and I'll talk about a couple other events at the end of this. Also, monthly newsletters. You can sign up to receive the monthly newsletter. It's not incredibly long. I have to put it together, so it can't be too long. But you can also view current and older newsletters on there as well, which just has some really, hopefully, great information to help people out with knowing things that are coming up. Finding out about the policy board and our action teams. Action teams are, anybody can join those. Currently, the action teams, when they are meeting virtually right now. So if you're doing this right now, guess what? You're capable of being on an action team. In the policy board, we actually have openings on the policy board, and that is something that you would have to apply through the county website. And the applicants aren't appointed by me. I'm not that powerful. They're appointed by the Johnson County Board of Supervisors. And you can also find the service directory on our website. This is the most searched item on the website. The service directory, just what options are available, different categories. I think I've talked about a lot of them already: assisted living, housing for independent living, in-home care, both medical and non-medical. There are a lot of different categories. There's a lot of different options within there. Right now, I'll say it's not quite as organized as I'd like it to be. We're actually working on revising the service directory, and we're going to be moving livable community within the county here in the next several months. I won't put a date on that because we'll just say it's going to be in hopefully by 2021. Some upcoming events, just so people kind of know about. I take part in, one of the things the livable community actually is taking part in is the Housing Action Team has been doing an Aging in Place series for the last 3 years. This year it's a webinar, of course. The next one is tomorrow. It's called Estate Planning When Going on Medicaid. A lot of people are trying to figure out, you know, how do I make plans. How do I figure out if my loved one needs this kind of care? How do I plan this out? And this doesn't have to be something where my loved one needs this now. This is the idea of planning things out. You may be at a situation where maybe they need some minimal assistance, but you're trying to figure out how are you going to financially pay for the services down the road. This is a really great webinar, and this will be available after the fact as well if you're not available to watch it live. But being part of it live, you're able to get your questions in there, which is really one of the huge benefits. This will be, as you can see there, live on our Facebook page for Johnson County Social Services. Or if you want to contact me, I can register you for the Zoom link so you can view it there. Also coming up here in just, gosh, is that next week? That is next week. The Iowa Aging Summit next Thursday, Friday. September 17th and 18th. It's you can register at iowaaging.org. They have different tracks for community members, students, and practitioners. They have some really terrific speakers coming in. I'd highly recommend this to anybody that's viewing this. There's just going to be some great information out there. And who can I contact if I live outside of Johnson County? Well, my biggest one that I refer to is Heritage, and you can even contact them if you live in Johnson County. They serve a 7-county region, Benton, Cedar, Iowa, Johnson, Jones, Lynn, and Washington. So I'm going to guess that's going to cover the regions of the viewers here today. There is their website and their phone contact as well. Their online directory for the state is Lifelong Links. This is a tremendous resource out there as well that people can, you know, find out some of the different options in their community. So if you don't live in Johnson County and the Livable Community website doesn't help you at all, this is a great resource that can help you out as well. Once again, this is my contact information. I wanted to make it quick because I knew we're trying to keep this to our hour max, and just in case there was any questions that people had, I'd prefer to spend more time on that. So Karen, I don't know if we have any questions because I'm still sharing and I can't see the chat or the Q&A, but I'm going to guess that there aren't any questions right this second.
I have not had any questions come up at this point, but if they do, I will definitely shout them out, but nothing's come up. But I thank you, Jeff, for sharing your information as well. Lots of great details in there on how people can, where to get started at. I think that's the biggest question we hear is just where do we get started and how do I go from A to B? And what I remind people daily is this isn't supposed to be your area of expertise. You're not supposed to know all about this. Just like when we bring the babies home from the hospital, we don't get the manual. We're not given a manual at this part of life either. We come to the experts who deal with this all the time, and that's where we're going to help. But thank you, everybody, for helping, and thank you for listening in. I just want to share some, yes.
Well,
go ahead,
you
Jeff.
know, even though we're so-called experts, I'll say 2020 has thrown a lot of curveballs that we've had to go and do a lot more research on how that service has been impacted.
Yes.
I know people have been wondering, okay, well, what if I need to go into assisted living or nursing homes? Assisted living, and I kind of mentioned this to you, Karen, you know, right now, each one has some different rules and regulations as far as what they're doing. Nursing homes are pretty strict with what they're doing right now, you know, in terms of quarantining individuals when they come in. Home health is one of the service providers that's really been, I won't say unaffected because everybody's been affected, but I think that they've been able to keep their service model a little bit more intact than some of the other providers because of the nature of what they do. And this is what they kind of prepare for anyway, they going into the homes, but this is definitely not an easy time.
No.
So I really, you know, tell people reach out, ask questions. If I don't know something, part of my role here is to research it because I want to know anyway what's changed, what's affected. And sometimes there's just questions that come up that I have no idea about. And it's fun to find out.
That's what I share too. When people contact us at Home Instead, I say, if we don't have the answer for you, I have a wealth of friends through the Elderly Consortium here in Lynn County that I can reach out to, that they help us through this. We're a great team in this community that work together to help those in our community get the services that they need, whether they're staying at home or going within a facility, just need to talk things through, just to get the information and education on what they have is the biggest thing right now. So get the information, reach out now before it's a necessity. Be prepared. And I think that goes with the disaster talk. Have your toolkit ready. Know what's in place. So to let you know what's coming up, our next presentation will be on October 13th, and that will be embracing the caregiver role, and that will be done by Abby Martin from the Family Caregiver Center of Mercy. So she'll give a great presentation. She does an awesome job. And then also Pam Railsbeck from the Ombudsman's Office. I always have trouble with that one, Jeff. She'll be talking about long-term care in a nutshell. So she'll have a lot of great information on that facility side as well. So that'll be October 13th, and then November 10th, we'll have the next program. And then the one that we were supposed to have last month, when the derecho hit, we're going to be doing that on December 8th. So we're just going to add one more month to our series here. And so December 8th, we'll have Dr. James Cole speak on dealing with grief, caregivers grief, all of the things that come along with that. And then I will be sharing information on in-home care, what it's all about and what it has to offer. So that's what I have to share with the notes from today. And this information from this webinar will be on the Heritage website. And again, thank you everybody for sharing your great knowledge with us and the information for the people in our communities. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.